We're at Kendal Mountain Festival with Kirsty Pallas, who's a rock climbing and mountaineering instructor and a winter mountain leader. How are you doing, Kirsty?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good.
And you've been involved in the Patagonia climb session. How was that?
It was good. I was quite nervous before, and I've not done that amount of. Or I don't think I've spoken to such a big crowd, not in a long time anyway. So yeah, a bit nervous, but it was really good.
What was the session about?
So it was the climb session. So there was a range of speakers talking about kind of how they got into climbing, and I guess a little bit about their attitude to climbing, what type of climbing they do, their mentors. They had a good focus on mentors and leadership. But yeah, it was just hopefully just to get people psyched on climbing.
Yeah, I've heard really good reviews about it, and Rob Greenwood was hosting, so
yeah,
it sounds really good. I'll have to watch the replay. But what was your journey into the outdoors? How did you get started?
So I started hill walking and stuff with my parents when I was young, getting taken out every weekend, doing whatever. And then I decided that I didn't want to go to uni after school, and I'd done work experience at an outdoor ed centre, and I was like, oh, that's really good fun actually, and it's a real job. So yeah, it kind of went from there, and once I found out about the qualifications you can do, I just wanted to get started, and I decided I just wanted to do them even though I'd not been climbing yet. And thankfully I did like climbing.
You might as well give it a go. But
yeah.
I've watched quite a lot of videos of you. You've talked about diversity, you've talked about your mum and how she's inspired you. What kind of issues are people talking about in climbing these days, and what are you doing to kind of address the subject and get people talking about it?
Yeah, so I think climbing, absolutely in the UK has traditionally been a very white male dominated sport. So I think that's probably the biggest issue, is to try and open it out and show that it's something that everyone can do. So I'm doing work in a few different strands. I'm part of the Association of Mountaineering Instructors Equity and Diversity Working Group, and we're working on trying to increase the number of women and people of colour who hold the Mountaineering Instructor Awards.
How many at the moment, roughly?
So at the moment the association is 90% men and 10% women. Yeah. And I did a piece for International Women's Day back in March, and I was like, oh, this is great, I'll show how the percentage has changed over the last 30 years, and it actually hasn't. And while the number of women has increased, the number of men coming through the awards has also increased proportionally. And then when you look at the Winter Mountaineering and Climbing Instructor Awards, so that's your highest UK qualification, the number of women total who have done it is 41, which is it's not many at all. So we're looking at ways we can kind of change that, or try and encourage more women and people of colour to get involved. But it's something that it's going to take quite a few years to see, because we need to see it at participation level first, because people need to be climbers. So I'm doing a bit of work through an organisation I've kind of co-founded called Our Shared Outdoors, to try and change the narrative in the outdoors.
People talk a lot about barriers, and it always seems not a very helpful term. Maybe they think there's something physical, and people are like, well, there's nothing stopping people from getting outdoors or getting involved. What's your perception of barriers, or how should we be talking about these issues? What are the kind of problems that people face when it comes to taking part?
I think a lot of the time when we talk about barriers, a lot of the pushback comes from people who haven't experienced barriers, and it's really hard if you've not experienced it to understand that. So I think one of the biggest things that needs to be done is like actually listen to what people are saying and don't be like, oh well, that's not true because it doesn't like resonate with me, so how can it be right? So I mean there are like kind of semi-physical barriers in terms of climbing's an expensive sport to get into, whether that's like entry into a wall, like you have to be able to travel to the wall in the first place, you have to have free time to do that, you have to have like the privilege of having some free time and not working like 3 or 4 jobs. So yeah, cost of kit and having free time, but then I think representation is quite a barrier, because it's really hard to go into a space where you don't see yourself represented, or even if you don't know anyone that does it. Like a lot of the time people just don't know climbing is a thing. You know, it's with the Olympics this year and sport climbing is becoming a bit more mainstream, hopefully that's reducing that aspect of it, but yeah, I think that's a pretty major barrier in itself.
What are you doing through our shared outdoors to help people inspire people?
So we're going to be launching some film events that kind of showcase and focus on people from underrepresented groups getting into the outdoors. So we're not just climbing focused, we're looking at the outdoors as a whole, but then we're also going to be setting up a mentorship scheme and assisting people with funding applications so that they can access funding to like maybe go on skills courses or leadership courses, as well as we do a few like informative and educational posts on Instagram. So yeah, a few different strands.
It often seems like there's a lot of time and energy spent trying to do taster session type things, like one-off things, just to kind of tick boxes and get people to try a sport, but there's like very few organisations that are actively trying to like sustain participation and then progression. Like, as you were saying, you have to actually climb personally before you can get interested and get in the industry in instructing or whatever it is that you're interested in.
Exactly, yeah. And I think we're seeing a slightly different pathway to it as well at the moment. Certainly to outdoor trad. You know, before it was very much like you went to a club or you had a mate who'd take you out and you kind of learnt stuff on the fly. But for these people from these communities that don't have access to those skill sets, the access is coming through having started in indoor walls, and you know, there's loads of walls popping up, so it's an easier access point, but we need to look at how we can then transfer that to outdoor trad, because I think we are seeing a change in the range of people you see at a wall, but at the moment it's not transferring to outdoors.
Do you think the Olympics, you mentioned that before, do you think that's had some kind of positive
I think so, yeah. I think definitely there's some really great coverage of it, and obviously we've got Shauna Coxey, which is amazing, and I think people are really excited about it. Like climbing's suddenly seen as like, oh, like it's a really fun thing to do and anyone can give it a go. So yeah, hopefully we'll see like in a few years that'll kind of transfer over as well.
Going back to your own climbing, have you got any plans for the winter, if we have a good winter season?
Yeah, so the winter mountaineering and climbing instructor is next on my list. So yeah, I'm hoping just to have a good winter. I only got like a half route done last year, so hopefully just get my head back into it and yeah, just get back out on the hills and build up the logbook.
Yeah, sounds good. And next year, have you got any?
Nothing major, just work at the moment, but hopefully some more trips built in. Yeah, like hopefully some more trips kind of booked in around it personally. So yeah, I've not got any plans, but I'm still really enjoying just being in the UK, and there's still so much to see and do.
Yeah, and do it in Scotland if the weather's good.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of places to go.
Have you got much else to see or do today at Kendal?
Yes, I'm going to see They Them.
It's a really good film.
Yeah. Yeah, I've held off watching it because I thought I want to see it on the big screen.
Yeah.
And then there's the panel afterwards, which I think will be really good. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Nice. Well, have fun at the rest of your weekend, and yeah,
Thank
hopefully
you.
see you soon.
Yeah, thank you.